The concept of androsexuality may be new to people, but the identity certainly isn't. In a nutshell, an androsexual is someone who is sexually attracted to men, males, or those who identify on the masculine spectrum, regardless of whether they were assigned male at birth. You might ask, isn't that the same thing as being a heterosexual, cisgender female? Not quite. Let's dive in. Someone who identifies as androsexual is attracted to masculine characteristics, but the object of their attraction doesn't have to identify as male. This is where androsexuality is a little different than other gender and sexual identities. Unlike many of the labels for sexual orientation, including the ones people are most familiar with, like straight, gay, and bisexual, it doesn't reinforce the binary of male and female by defining both the gender of the person experiencing the attraction and the gender of the people they are attracted to. Here's sexuality educator and author Lindsay Fram to help explain.
Androsexual just identifies the sexual orientation of the person who's experiencing the attraction. They are attracted to people who are traditionally or have traditionally male characteristics or masculine characteristics. But that person could be male, they could be intersex, they could be transgender, they could be female, they could identify with any other label. So it is a little bit more nuanced than just saying that somebody is gay, a male who's attracted to other males, or that somebody is a heterosexual woman who is attracted to men.
So what types of challenges could androsexual people face in society? Being androsexual isn't necessarily a societal challenge. After all, cisgender women are androsexual and in the majority culture. However, those who use androsexual to describe their orientation may be faced with a constant need to answer questions about what it means. If they are sexual and/or gender minorities, they may also face homophobia or transphobia related to their attraction to masculine characteristics. So, why is it important to be familiar with all the sexual orientation labels? Aside from the fact that you or your loved one might identify as androsexual or another sexual orientation altogether, a wider acceptance of the fact that human sexuality takes numerous forms is crucial to help reduce stigma.
Like most stigmas related to sexual orientation, a lot of it comes from just not understanding. And androsexual is a new word. We haven't really been hearing it until very recently, and not very many people use it. Labels for sexual orientation can be really limiting for some people. They feel like it boxes them in, and it really ties them to one identity that might not always be representative of who they are or how they feel. But for some people, labels are really liberating. They help you feel like you can move through the world as the fullest version of yourself, and they can help you connect to community.
Of course, labels don't work for everyone. But for those who do find some comfort in labels for their sexual orientation, hitting upon one that feels just right can be transformative.
When we understand that human sexuality is a lot more flexible and a lot more fluid than most of us have been taught to understand, then we can be much more accepting, much more open to identities that are not similar to ours or are in fact quite dissimilar to our own. And then representation really matters. When we accept that sexual orientation, sexual identity is a spectrum, it's a galaxy, right? It cannot be contained. Then we can start to see characters in books and in television shows and in movies that represent a greater fluidity of sexuality. And in that way, representation is really validating. It really matters to people.